because I'm the one. Okay. Just for formality and for everyone else who cannot attend this workshop today. My name is Angy Abreu, and I am the Executive Director of Dominican Writers Association. My mission has always been to put a Dominican book in your hands, and by that route, teaching you as Dominican authors, but I assume you all are. You don't have to be to take this workshop, but teaching, giving you the tools and resources to publish, whether you decide to publish traditionally or self-publish. That is the other part of the work that we do at Dominican Writers. So it's mostly promoting, highlighting, cheering on Dominican books. And then after that, it's also teaching you how to be part of that group whose books are being read, right? So let me, where's the share screen button? I'm gonna share the screen. Can everybody see the screen? Okay. So this is the first session of our 6-week workshop on self-publishing, and this one is understanding the landscape of publishing. This is what we've done, a little bit of who we are, how many books we've published. This is a little bit outdated. Actually, we've published a lot more. I think we have like 12 anthologies now. But just so you know a little bit more. So Yadan is senior editor at Simon & Schuster. He has these great reels on his Instagram. So after this workshop, I do advise you to go into his Instagram account, click on his reels, and watch his conversations about publishing, about traditional publishing. He became a senior editor at Simon & Schuster about 2 years ago. And once he was given that position, he went in explaining to people of color what it means to publish traditionally, and he breaks it down to you. I say he gives you like the Jay-Z lesson. Is not formal. It's very easy for you to understand what he talks about, right? And one of the things that he talked about that we try to let folks understand is that writers need to understand that when that you are moving into a business, the moment you say that you want to publish, that conversation becomes a business conversation, and it's a collaboration between art and commerce. Okay? And we're going to go into that, right? So these are some of the books that we have helped self-publish that I remember off the top of my head. I'm sure there's more. These are the people that I've actively worked with them, or that they've told me, hey, I bought your self-publishing book, because we have an ebook on Amazon for self-publish. It's like 68 pages. So they'll tell me, hey, I used your book to self-publish. So these are just some of the people, okay? So before you all introduce yourself, I want you to take a few minutes and answer these questions. Okay, I am going to set a timer here for 5 minutes. You don't need to write paragraph. Just, as simple as possible, answer the questions. You have 3 more minutes. Is everybody done? Yes, no, you need more time? Veronica, why I can't see you?
I'm coming. I need 1 more minute.
Oh, did B leave? What happened to her? They're disconnecting. Okay. Who wants to go first? Anyone? Oh, B, you're there. I wasn't seeing you.
Hey.
Anyone wants to volunteer to go first, answering the questions? Go ahead, Angela. Introduce yourself, Angela. Please let us
Sure.
know if you have published or not.
I am Angela Arias. I volunteer usually because I'm double A. I'm used to being in the front of the line because I'm also short. Um, I am the author of a memoir called Half a Century Ago. It's about growing up in New York City as a Dominican immigrant child. And I am a retired educator from New York City and Yonkers. So now I live upstate in the woods, in the middle of nowhere. And I have time to write. I'll go into the questions. Self-publishing, not for me. I just want to write. I don't want to bother with finding an editor, a this and a that, and an artist and typesetting and none of that. I think some people do it better than me and let them do it. I'll pay for it. Or I'll sign a contract with that's included. I write for impact, legacy, and some visibility, not necessarily financial need. I know I'm not going to get rich by publishing memoirs. I tried self-publishing like everybody else 3 years down the line or 4 years down the line. I'm still waiting for, one of those big houses
You
to
mean
return to
traditional
me.
publishing?
Yes, exactly.
You queried literary agents
Yes.
for your
And
memoir?
the couple of them who replied, they wanted some drama in my story. And I told them,
Yeah,
I've never been raped. My father is not a drug addict. He was never in jail. So I don't know what else you want me to do. It's my memoir.
right.
Publishing is stressful for me and time consuming. That's how I saw it and experienced it. And I understand that publishing requires both visibility and financial responsibilities or
Commitment. Yeah.
commit. That's the word I was looking for.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Okay.
it.
Thank you, Angela. Carmen, you ready? Carmen was like, a mí no me van a llamar ahora. It was very
Thank you.
comfortable.
I'm like very relaxed. Self-publishing sounds
Introduce
stressful.
yourself, Carmen,
Hi. Yeah, sorry. Yeah. Hi.
and let us know if you have published anything.
Carmen Beltre, Dominican. I have never published anything. When I think of it, it sounds stressful. Though I have like joined a lot of the workshops that Andy hosts, but yeah. My personal goal is more for an impact. I consider myself like an advocate, or I am an advocate, community activist. So yes, more for impact than for money, even though the money always is like, welcome. And then 2, 3, traditional, no, I have not considered traditional. Maybe in the future I will. Publishing, what I know that it takes a lot of responsibility, that it could be pricey. I'm worried about time and knowing how to follow the steps, doing things the right way. That's what I'm concerned about. So I guess with this course, I'll be able to learn more about the steps and what I need to do. And then I think something that is important to understand is that the legal factors, right? Like copyright, me not utilizing something that is someone else's idea, or even using a picture that I want to put in the chat booth that I need to make sure that I do it the right way. Or once I publish something, make sure that it's protected as it belongs to me. So like the legal terms, the legal matters that comes with that
I'm
commitment.
going to bring in a entertainment lawyer who's going to talk to you guys about copyright.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, thank you. So there, that's all.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Carmen.
Yes.
Braulio, state your name. Have you published anything?
Hey everyone, my name is Braulio. I haven't published, but I just finished writing something that I'm really proud of. So I wanted to see if I can take a stab at publishing. I tried to do the literary agent. I reached out, but I don't feel that there's enough people for us out there that,
We're
want
going to
to
talk about that. Yeah.
speak or hear from it's a Latinidad in a sense, but my personal goals are definitely impact, legacy. I mean, income, of course. I mean, I would love to just quit my job. Have I considered, yeah, as I mentioned before, I tried traditional publishing, but it just seems like it feels like with anything artistic, you need to know somebody. And that's the only way you get it, kind of. Or they'll just, is you got to be referred to by somebody in order to be considered. What's one thing you already know about publishing? That I guess that same thing. You have to know somebody. It feels like you have to be in the in crowd or have connections. What do you think is important to understand about the business side? I think the important part is controlling your art. I think a lot of times, you as someone that wants to create, you don't want to deal with that part where, I feel you may get taken advantage of. So I guess that's probably one of the most important things I would like to learn about it. So you're not, being used in a sense, as it seems like would happen when you do traditional publishing, maybe depending on the contract and all that. So
Okay. What genre is your manuscript?
I don't even know how to describe it. I can tell you well,
What's it about?
it is called Diary of a Dominican Fuckboy. So it's
Have you read The Son of a Mujeriego?
no, I haven't, but thank you for that. I'll definitely read it now.
You're gonna garner a lot of controversy with that title.
That's the whole point, I think, too.
That's clickbait.
Yeah, I mean, part of it is at the same time. So just a little bit about me. I try stand-up comedy, but it's not as easy as it looks. And I was going off of that angle in a sense. So I figured I'd write something more of a story that involves Dominican Republic, involves legacy in a sense. A lot of things that I feel Dominicans can understand in a sense. So being Dominican American and going back and having family and things like that, that I feel, are related. I mean, it talks about misogyny, culture, colorism. So
So is it a memoir or is it fiction? Creative
no,
nonfiction,
it's fiction. It's fiction. I mean, the way I wrote it could come
loosely based
across that
on your
I may
life?
have lived some of it. What's that?
Loosely based on your life?
Loosely based, very loosely based, because there is drama in there. I
Okay.
did include some flair, I guess. But yeah, it's loosely based. I've been asked questions by people that have read it, like, to see how much truth is in there. But
So
I
it's
think it's things that,
completely done.
yeah, I feel it's done. I've had a couple friends read it already. They
Is
liked
it
it.
edited?
No, that's why I wanted to come here is just to understand that process because I went to I forgot the name of there's like a website that you can search for people and you pay them to edit.
Mhm.
I was considering that, but
We
I
have
feel
we have Dominican editors if that's what you want.
no, that's why when I remember Dominican Writers Association, so that's why when I saw this, I was like, you know what? Let me go this route because I'm gonna be around my people. They're gonna be, it's gonna be more support, more understanding of where I'm coming from this perspective. So, that's why I went this route.
Okay. How long did you last looking for a literary agent?
I gave up after a week because it just felt so
Oh,
overwhelming.
wait.
I know, but let me tell you why though. Let me tell you why. The reason is because you go on and I mean Google search gives you what it gives you, right? You go on, you spend time looking and searching and
Yeah,
not
there's these specific databases that I will share with you guys,
okay.
but you should be looking for literary agents.
All right, cool. All
And
right.
that is a commitment of at least 1 year that I recommend for people.
Just
Um,
looking for an agent for a year?
yes, just pitching them.
Jesus, what a
Yes.
waste. I'm sorry, not a waste. I mean, it just seems like so much like
Yeah, I
yeah,
mean, people have different goals. Like you
uh-huh.
said, yours is impact and legacy, right? But some people want their book, mass produced and internationally sold, and they want a
Okay.
team to back up that book and represent that book.
Mhm.
So they stick through it. I have seen people get literary agents within 3 months.
Okay.
And I have seen people, I mean, even Angie Cruz, after she published, it took her 10 years to find a literary agent to represent Dominicana
Wow, okay.
because they would tell her that that book was not marketable
Hmm.
until she found one literary agent that believed in the book. And now the book has garnered awards.
Okay.
So, and that is an author that had 3 novels already published.
Question, is it better to just because I don't want to stop from self-publishing. I feel like at this point, I don't know if I'm being impatient.
No. So I'm
You
a
know,
believer in owning your brand.
okay.
So I'm gonna be biased, but not everyone has the energy and the time to self-publish. But I will just show you that it is possible to do it.
Okay.
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 So
Sounds good.
B, I know you have a book,
Hmm.
but your book you went hybrid. You worked with a company, right?
Yes, I
So
did.
introduce yourself, please. Talk a little bit about your book and then answer the question. And then we will get into your
Okay, hello everybody. I'm B. I am the author of User Manual Surviving the 2020s. Um, it is the only book I've published. I'm usually a visual artist and graphic designer. Um, when I hear self-publishing, it sounds like a lot of work. That book was not self-published. I was actually friends with a publisher, and that's just how it ended up happening.
small
But
press, right?
yeah, Salt Press. Um, my personal goals for this next book is that it is read by many like a Bible. Like that I'm going high.
I-
um
Okay.
I was very out of the loop when it came to the publishing process. And I wasn't a fan of that. So I think I might go self-publishing this time for that specific book. I don't know much about publishing because I was very out of the loop. And
And still, do you learn much through your process, through your first process?
not really. I mean,
Your friend didn't walk you through it?
no.
You're kidding me.
I
What
just
kind of friend is that? They just threw you to the
I
wolves?
know. I just found out that my book is in Mil Mundos in Brooklyn. I didn't know that before 2 weeks ago.
No
So
way. 2 weeks
yeah.
ago, and your book has, doesn't your book have like 2 years?
Yeah, the book three.
No, I'm
No,
sorry.
actually
I missed that.
4. What was I about? It's been 4 years. Time is
4 years.
flying. Yeah.
Wow. And you
Been
just
4 years.
found out your book is in Mil Mundos.
Yes.
Mil Mundos is a independent bookstore in Brooklyn, guys. Okay, sorry about that. I will open up your eyes, all right, B?
Thank you. And the last question, I guess, what do I think is important to understand about the business side? I guess taxes and legality.
Got it. All right, thank you. Anesi, state your name. Have you published? Why are you
Yes,
here?
yeah, definitely. I'm so happy to be here. Whenever I have a chance to be here with you, Angie, I feel so
I feel honored.
excited. But but anyway, I just do want to apologize that today will be my first day, and then I won't be here till the last day
It's all right.
because I teach at this time, and classes begin next week. I teach graduate school. But anyway, so my name is Angy Baez. I'm the author of My Daughter's Eyes and Other Stories. And these questions are just perfect to share a little bit quickly of my journey into publishing. When I hear, when I used to hear the word self-publishing, I used to think mediocre, but I've seen so many wonderful self-published books that has changed. And I support self-publishers, particularly in mental health. I'm a professor, I'm a psychotherapist also. I work full-time as a professor, part-time as a psychotherapist. And then the other part-time of my life, I'm writing and I do a lot of collage art and a lot of art. So I kind of used art in my stories as well. So I do kind of consider myself a little bit of a graphic writer because I'm writing more and more with graphics. But um, so I'm here because I wanted to self-publish my mother-in-law's memoir. And I started collecting her memoirs when she was 88 and she's now 98. And what happened was I couldn't find someone to help me edit the book, and it was getting too big for me. And it was in Spanish particularly. And I needed to translate it into English and all that. And I eventually gave it to her daughter, who is actually a PhD in Spanish literature. And she actually edited and published it for the family in Staples. She did a simple,
Oh no,
but I wanted it,
we need to
I
do
want,
that.
I know, I wanted it and Angie knows this because I actually was going to call her to help me. I wanted it to be on Kindle. I wanted her to see it. I wanted her to hold it. And I'm really committed to that right now. So Angie was going to help me, but then I saw she was going to do this. And I said, oh, I'll do this with all of you and hear these lectures and also work with Angie around that. So that's my personal publishing goal. But as I've been listening and as I've been preparing for this, I've been thinking of, oh, what can I do that's self-publishing? So I'm thinking about that. But, um, I did consider, I started writing back in the 90s when I finished my dissertation. I felt if I could do a 250 page dissertation, I could focus on my stories. And stories was all I wanted to do. But my dad always said, get a profession, make money, and you could write on the side. So that's kind of like what I did. But what I did is I became my own agent because I knew that finding an agent for me, I was a professor, I was a therapist. I didn't really think anybody was going to want me unless I had something that could be marketable and make a lot of money for them. And so I knew that I had to become my own agent. And I found an agent I found a publishing company in Connecticut called Curbstone Press. It was a small company, and in order to get into it, I could submit my book and win a prize. So I tried 3 times and I failed, except the last time I did win in 2007. And with winning the prize, I got published. And I was very close friends with the editor, but what ended up happening the year I got published, my editor passed away
Oh my
about
God.
6 months after. And then 6 months later, my husband was diagnosed with cancer. And so I had to take care of my husband. And he was so supportive. You write throughout all the time that he was ill. And we were actually going out and promoting the book. And that's another thing. I think to have a traditional publisher and wanting to go all the way, you have to be 100% there. You can't be half. And
Right.
I could not leave my job. So to do traditional publishing, to have an agent, they're going to want you to be, that's your profession, that's your career. I knew I could not be that career. I knew that I was a part-time writer and that I was limited to that part-timeness. But when my husband passed away, I was devastated. It took about 5 years to get back into, writing or even going out. I actually kind of stopped because I started working at my institution, which is a Jewish university system and very traditional, very conservative. And I wanted to keep myself out of the radar because anything that I publish or anything I do, it gets known by them and it gets publicized. And I did not want publicity. I really did not. But as I'm thinking of retiring in the future, I'm thinking of dedicating more time to my writing. So what's one thing that you already know about publishing? I feel publishing is a commitment, like writing, and that if you're going to do it, like Angie said, you want to commit to looking for an agent for a year, to dedicating yourself to that. And even if you have another part-time job, it can't be so intense that it takes over the writing and the publishing. If you really want to be, a full-time writer. I'm close friends with Angie Cruz and Nelly Rosario, but that's their job. That's what they do for a living. And so I need to know who I am and what I can do. So
I need Nelly
another
to
thing.
publish another novel. So
Yeah, another thing about publishing, I feel, is about being a writer is that a writer is not just somebody who publishes. I have about 500 stories that I've been editing since the first stories that I've been writing and the stories I write right now, but I don't publish because I have a commitment to my full-time job, but I have them all edited and just waiting to be published. I'm not a novelist, Angie. Angie always says, oh, the next novel. I'm not. I'm a short story writer. And I love short stories, I love graphics, and I love hybrid work, like mixing art, poetry, and graphics.
we will
And
take
so,
that from you. It's fine.
yeah. And lastly, why do you think it's important to understand the business? When I started writing, I had no idea about the business. I just wanted to be a writer since I was 15. And when I met people like Nelly Rosario, Juno Diaz, and Angie Cruz, I thought, wow, this is beautiful. And that beauty was what I wanted. I didn't want all that comes with the business, but I think it's so important what Angie says. You do need to know the business. And I was very naive, I think, in not understanding it. I couldn't market my book. I couldn't support my little baby in the ways that it needed to be supported. And the book and we have a relationship. It was published in 2007. My book understands that, and I know. Oh, and another thing with publishing, legality, when my agent died, my book was bought by Northwestern University, and they have complete control of my book. I can't do anything at all. I am
Did you
dying to
have
get an agent.
did you have any say about them purchasing the book?
Nothing at all. They got the book, and if I want to take one of my stories and make it an ebook, I have to ask permission. They said no. I cannot translate my book without their permission, which they said no. Like everything is no. So, but I haven't really sat down with somebody and said, once I asked them for the contract so I could see that contract is so important and let you know what you can and cannot do. What I'm hoping to do, and I
Oh, we
published a
have a
story.
lawyer. Let me know.
No, but when I published Cuislaona with you, Angie, and my story in Cuislaona, the editor was very kind and she recommended boutique editors, small agent, small literary agents. I
It's
thought that was
Ivy.
so great. Yes,
Ivy.
Ivy. Yes, Ivy. And I researched the ones that she recommended. They're beautiful and they're doing great work. So right now I can't get an agent because I can't dedicate the time it needs, and I also need a book, like a complete book, nobody's going to touch you with a complete book and with that dedication of time. So I'm waiting a little bit, and I think that time's going to come soon. So, and I've been very patient. I'm patient with my writing. I don't care that time is passing, that I'm aging. I feel that creativity is for us always.
Yeah. Thank you, Anesi.
Yeah, you're welcome.
So much to learn from everyone here. All right, Veronica, your turn.
Hola, hola. Hi, everybody. I'm Veronica Polanco. Been writing since I was 9, but right now I do a lot of personal essays. I'm very like memoir. I I don't want to be a memoir writer, but memoir writing wants me. So I'm trying to embrace it a little bit more now. But outside of that, I have this children's book that I've been editing this year. I've been wanting to work on. And I'm also a creative in general. I'm always tinkering with my hands, doing a lot. I'm a software engineer. So I really like to make shit. And I think where I'm at in terms of my writing is I don't want to hold myself back. But I am finally submitting to different journals and publications, and then thinking about the long-term vision of like, what do I want my first published book to be? ¿Qué más? I think that's it.
The questions.
Oh yeah, I was gonna do the questions, but that's pretty much it in terms of my bio. When I hear self-publishing, I used to hear not good enough. Couldn't get anyone to publish your book for reals. I also hear badass, persevered, pushing through, okay with self-promotion. My goals for one of my stories is to help younger Vero, who is craving the story that I can now tell. But that's the most serious one. For others, it's really self-expression, but to document and to build worlds with others. It's just really freaking fun, like to read a book and realize that someone invented that shit and like become a part of that world. I just love that so much. I haven't really thought about traditional publishing at all. What appeals to me is the formal process. I do really well with structure. I need to contain myself because I have pretty serious ADD. What doesn't appeal to me is what if my book changes too much, losing any rights, being someone's puppet, not being able to handle the pressure of timelines. That's something. And then what I know, oh wait, and then I also wrote becoming overly obsessive throughout the publishing phase. So I have the most obsessive personality. Like when I have a goal, like I don't even know how to explain it. My family and friends are like, girl, like so I'm a little worried that I'll become a little too obsessive during that process. And I think having some structure, like having some almost like things to follow will help contain it a little bit versus like letting it take over my life. And then what I know about publishing is I know you have to do your own marketing no matter what. Like it doesn't matter what your book is, you're not going to just get this person who's just like managing your PR and marketing. There's lots of rounds of edits. That's it. I think there was another concern part. Oh yeah, I'm concerned with falling out of love with writing and falling out of love with a story.
If you go the traditional route?
Hold on, let me try. That was my 4th question. Whatever the 4th, it was like, what's one thing you know and what's one thing you're worried about, or something like that.
Why would you fall in love with writing?
Fall out of love. I think it goes back to that, what I was saying before is, for me, writing is something I do naturally. And sometimes when something gets like enveloped with capitalism, I'm afraid I'm gonna like lose that love.
Got it. Okay.
Why I want to learn? Listen, money is everywhere. I come from business. I used to be in sales. Capitalism is threaded in every place. And for me, it's about education, whether it's like self finances or even just business in books. And there was something else. Oh yeah, and I want to say hi, Angela. Get to meet you in person. We've been like talking on Substack and WhatsApp for months.
Oh, there you go, Angela. Mention your Substack because she probably doesn't know it's you. She knows the title of your Substack.
Oh yes, you just recently commented on my Substack to get to the mango tree. Yeah.
All righty. Thank you, everyone. And that is everyone answer was valid. But I'm here to demystify this process for you. Okay. Many traditional published authors also self-publish. Okay, among them is Adriana Herrera. Adriana Herrera is a award-winning romance writer. She wrote the trilogy of oh my God, I forget the name of her book. I have it here somewhere. Me muero que no me. I ran out of copies of her book. But anyway, look her up. So Adriana publishes traditionally, and she also self-publishes during the year. During the year, Adriana probably publishes like 7 books. That is her life. Right now, she's working on a project with 3 other romance authors, and she's launching the Kickstarter next week, I believe. So if you follow her on Instagram, you'll see what her new project is about. So she does these crowdfunding projects as well, where she produces these anthologies with other romance authors, and then she has her own body of work that she produces throughout the year. So, and you might say, why does Adriana self-publish? Why doesn't she just go ahead and publish with her publisher? Because she has creative control. Okay. I know one of you said, I don't know if it was you, Veronica, that once you give that manuscript to a publisher and you sign off on those rights, they get to mold that manuscript and what they want to mold it into. Okay, they would give it back to you with edits, and they would tell you this is the route we're going, and I need you to do this and this and that. Okay, I have seen many an author who disagree with their publisher, who drop their literary agents because they are just, you know, not happy with the route that their publisher wants to go. I know one children's book author right now that she said that she submitted her children's book manuscript and now it's completely different from what she initially submitted. And she's like, I'm just over it. I just want them to publish it, get it out of the way so I can move on. But this is not the story that she was initially in love with. And I think that sucks, right? Because we have a body of work that we have invested our time and energy and possibly money into, and we're so in love with it and we're happy with it. And that is the body of work that we want to put out there to the world, right? And then to have someone tell you, hey, this is not going to make me enough money, I'm going to need you to change this, kind of sucks. Because yes, when you go into traditional publishing, and I know I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself, when you go into traditional publishing, it is a business. Your book is now a product. It needs to make money. You're going to get an advance from that publisher, and you need to make sure that your book sells past that amount of your advance. Okay. So one person that I highly recommend for you to follow if you're on Substack is Alyssa Reynoso Morris. She is a children's book author, and she breaks down her book sales. Okay, she breaks it down for you. She has a wonderful newsletter. She teaches you how to market your book and how to pitch your book to schools and whatnot, and other places, and how to sell books. Like that is what she, you know, she'll make an additional $30,000, $35,000 income pitching her book when it's published, right? She has a new book coming out now. And I was asking her, what's going on with your book? I don't hear anyone talking about it. And she was like, well, we're going the library route. That's why you don't see too many influencers talking about the book, because then her new book belongs in the schools. So her publisher dedicated their time and money to push it through the libraries and through the Department of Education, right? So that's where she's doing her pitches. Not necessarily to us as influencers or to book talkers or bookstagrammers. That is not of their interest, right? So, and we're also going to speak about where to find your audience, right? Like who is your audience? Where do you find them, and how do you pitch your book to them, right? So let's get into this, okay? So speaking of the publishing industry, for those of you who do not know, okay, for the past 100 years, New York City has been the mecca of traditional publishing, okay? How many of you have heard of the term Big Five? Okay, that is us. The Big Five refers to Hachette, HarperCollins, Macmillan, Penguin Random House, and Simon & Schuster. They are the largest publishing houses in New York City. And underneath them, you will see other imprints. So if you go to their website, you're going to see they have like other imprints where they publish other genres, you know, or very specific type of books, right? But the larger houses are these: Hachette, HarperCollins, Macmillan, Penguin Random House, and Simon & Schuster, all right? Each of these publishers operates a number of imprints, like I mentioned, which functions as a brand under the larger umbrella of the parent company. Big Five imprints tend to acquire and produce books independently, deciding, for instance, whether or not to accept unagented manuscripts. All these publishers require you to have a literary agent. Their imprints may not, but these publishers will. Okay? So as a result, each one of them has a distinctive voice and sensibility. So if you research all of these five, you will see them that they maybe publish slightly different topics, type of books. Some of them may be dedicated more to young adult or adult fiction, or maybe dedicated to creative nonfiction. When you do your research, you will see what type of books they dedicate themselves to. Okay, so Braulio was talking about, you know, publishing, not looking for books with people of color that look like us, right? So how diverse is publishing, folks? And what is the reason behind so many people deciding to self-publish, right? What is the reason for Braulio to give up after 1 week of looking for a literary agent, right? He probably bumped into a Blanquito who told him, I don't know what to do with this book, and was like, I'll pass, right? So Lee and Low is a publisher. They publish children's books. They also do a lot of contests. They recently closed a contest actually looking for picture books. Highly recommend that if that is your interest, picture books, go on to the Lee and Low company. They sell tons of books to schools. They have a lot of resources for just picture books, okay? So Lee and Low published a diversity baseline survey in 2015. And their goal was to survey publishing houses and review journals regarding the racial, gender, sexual orientation, and ability makeup of their employees, establish concrete statistics about the publishing workforce, and then build on this information by reissuing the survey every 4 years. Through these long-term efforts, they wanted to track how the industry shows, you know, over time, if it's improving in inclusion, right? So why does diversity matter? The book industry has the power to shape culture in big and small ways. The people behind books serve as gatekeepers who can make a huge difference in determining which stories are amplified and which are shut out. If people who work in the publishing are not a diverse group, how can diverse voices truly be represented in these books? So the results were that 79% of respondents identified as white, okay? 78% were women, 88% were straight, 92% were non-disabled. At a time when readers of all backgrounds were demanding to see themselves in books, the publishing industry came nowhere near reflecting the diversity of the United States. Here is the survey that you could see. So what happens? Whenever I do consultations, I get a lot of authors that tell me, hey, I've been pitching my book to literary agents, and they'll say they don't know what to do with my book, you know, or they don't understand the nuance you're speaking about in your book. They might not understand the culture, and they don't try to understand. They don't have time to sit down and understand it. If it's not straight, if they don't understand it immediately, they're going to pass. Okay.
How is that usually coded? Like what do they say? Do they say like, oh, it's not a good fit? Like what is like the usual?
So yeah, so they'll say, I don't think I'm the best fit for this book. I'm going to have to pass. That's usually the line that they give you. Okay. So that happens a lot with Latino books, with, you know, Asian, let's say, books from just other cultures, because white people don't have cultures. Okay, so they don't understand our culture or any other culture out there. One example that I could show you of bias was American Dirt. How many of you know what American Dirt was? No, Angela. So American Dirt is a novel that was written by a white woman about a Mexican family and their experiences crossing the Mexican border and migrating to the US in the most illegal manner, right? It was about a Mexican family. It talked about all their trauma, all their struggles, challenges, everything in Mexico, and their immigration journey into the US. When people find out that this is a white woman writing this very Mexican story, all hell broke loose. Why? Because we have so many Mexicans writing that story, and literary agents tell them, oh, I'm sorry, I don't think this is the right fit. I'm the right fit. I don't know what to do with this, or this is not marketable. I'm going to pass. But she was a white woman, and her book went into auction. What does that mean when a book goes into auction? That multiple publishers want this book and they're fighting for it. They're bidding for it. So she got 6 figures for this book. She was published by Flatiron. Okay. If you go online, you could look up Oprah and a Flatiron conversation when she was defending this book. It got crazy, because I think it made it into Oprah's book club. Okay. Not only that, but this book was also co-signed by one of your favorite Latino authors, like Esmeralda Santiago, Julia Alvarez, Sonia, what's the last name of Sonia Sanchez, is it? If I remember correctly, co-signed this book and blurbed it, meaning that they're the ones who give you that little line at the back of the book. They were like, yeah, you should read this. I thought this book was excellent. So people also came down on those authors because hello, but not so much because those were, how do I say this? Julia Alvarez is Dominican, but she's a white woman. So is Esmeralda Santiago. She's Puerto Rican, but she's white presenting, right? So it was okay for them, I guess, right? And then the woman, the author, wasn't able or wasn't allowed, people didn't allow her to go on tour. She tried, and they would show up to her tour spot and protest her book. And she would try to defend herself by saying that her grandmother was Puerto Rican. Therefore, she was Puerto Rican too. And it was all right for her to write this book because she was a Latina. Nobody believed that. Okay? She disappeared from the face of this earth after that. We haven't heard from her since. So maybe about a year ago when she announced that she was publishing a book under another name, somebody outed her because she's publishing under a pseudonym. But she didn't learn anything from the process because she's still doing it, except that people are now catching her and, putting it out there. So those are things that happen in publishing that rub us the wrong way. During that time also, we had a lot of, and this was also during the pandemic, we had a lot of authors of color who went on Twitter and started the hashtag publishing paid me, so that you could see how little publishing was paying the authors of color in contrast to the white authors. You could still look up this hashtag if you have Twitter. Okay? And you could Google that. Google hashtag publishing paid me, and you will see a list of authors, among them Roxane Gay, who is a renowned author. Okay? And so many other well-known authors that in your mind, you'd be like, I don't believe that. I don't believe that this woman was given $5,000 for her book or something like that, right? So There's tons of evidence out there that you could look up and research. I could also send you a list of articles and whatnot. I think it's super important for you to, how do I say this? Learn the business that you're getting into if you're publishing traditionally. Learn about everything that is against you and for you so that you're not disappointed. Okay? Because yes, we have these dreams of publishing and having our book translated into multiple languages, and maybe I get to sell my film rights, or maybe this becomes a children's book, or so many things that could be associated with your book, but also there's a huge, that's not very easy to achieve. Okay? So, which is why I teach this course, so that you know exactly what you're getting into. Does anyone have any questions about this diversity baseline survey?
No, but I have a response to something that you're saying. That, I think that sometimes too, many companies and many agents, if they already have a Dominican writer, they don't want another one.
Yes.
So they'll tell you, I'm so sorry, I already
Which
have
is
a Dominican
hilarious,
writer.
because guess
Or
how
I
many
already
white
have a
authors
Latino
they have?
writer.
Guess
Yeah,
how many
yeah.
white authors they have?
I know, right? Yeah, right. But you can only have one Latino. But anyway, another thing that I just wanted to say, when you said to know what you're looking for, of course, if you want to lay low and be with a small company, $5,000 is not so bad. But if you want to make a lot of money, of course, you're going to want to go to the bigger companies. But sometimes those bigger companies, I remember the first time I took a short story writing class, because I wanted to write, the woman that was the teacher, she had a book published, but her book didn't make enough money, so she had to return the advance. So sometimes you have to say, do I really want to be with Simon and Schuster, or do I really want to be, and to know the risk of what it is that being with those companies. And some people can take the risk and it'll be wonderful for them, but just that there's no shame to go for a smaller company with a smaller income, and start there and then, grow. I think that that's okay as well.
Yes. Thank you for sharing that, Anansi. So here we have all the ways into publishing, right? So traditional publishing involves the process of a writer obtaining a literary agent to represent your work. Okay, a literary agent is someone who works on commission representing writers and their written works to publishers, theatrical producers, film studios, and they assist in the sale and the deal negotiation of your contract. Through negotiation of the book deal and on behalf of the author, they receive a percentage. So they only get paid if you get a signed contract. Okay, any literary agent that tries to charge you is a scammer. Okay, that is not a legit literary agent. Literary agents get a percentage of your signed contract, and that is worked into your deal. Maybe it's 15%, maybe it's 20%, but that is a conversation that you have between the publisher, yourself, and the literary agent. Okay? So publishers offer the author the book deal where the author is paid for their book and or future books they may write. And once the book is purchased, the publisher covers all the expenses related to publishing, from editing to artwork, to printing, to shipping, to marketing, promoting, media, etc. Back in the day, they used to cover your tour. They used to send you on a tour to go promote your book. That is no longer a thing. Okay? When you see these authors going on a tour, the majority of them are creating that tour themselves. Okay? Or they invested in a publicist that can cost anywhere from $3,000 and up to help them get onto these TV shows like Good Morning America, on these podcasts, and to these book festivals, and also into these multiple bookstores in order to promote their books. Okay. Veronica, you have a question?
Yeah, I was wondering, the literary agents, do they work for the big five, or do they work for themselves, like, or they work for companies?
They don't work for Big Five.
Okay.
They are a separate entity, sort of like a law firm that you may hire. They don't work for the judge or the courts. They are a separate entity.
Usually like solo people or part of a company.
Well, there's the majority of literary agents that I know belong to a literary agency,
Oh, okay, okay.
but there's tons of them that also work on their own, that don't belong to a firm. But they have relationships with these publishers, and they know what publisher is looking for what, so they know where to pitch your book. Okay? And they sit down with you and discuss it with you. You make a list of where your book is going to be pitched. It's not like you give them your manuscript and they just go. No, it's a relationship, a team effort between yourself and the literary agent to see where your book is going to land. They're not going to pitch your book somewhere where you don't want your book. They will probably advocate and say, hey, this is the best thing for you, but that book ultimately gets pitched to where you both agree for it to get pitched. Okay, so, and the literary agents, you find them through manuscript wish lists. There's a few other directories, like Poets and Writers has a directory that you can find literary agents, and there's another platform that's I think it's called Query Tracker, where you also can find literary agents. You could search for them by the genres that they publish, and you'll get a whole list of them. Also, Latinx in Publishing, if you go onto their website, they have a list of Latino literary agents, and also literary agents that they know definitely support writers of color. And you will see the entire list on their website with their email address and their contact information. And you could look that up yourself. You could do your research, okay? So here, finding a literary agent. Read books like the ones you want to publish. Look up the agents who represented these authors. Most of the time in the acknowledgement section, you will know who was the literary agent behind the publishing of that book. Okay? You also will know who was the publisher. If you like this book, if you liked how this book was marketed, if you liked, you know, everything that you see about the book, put them on your list. If your book is anything like this book that you're reading, now you know, okay, this publisher publishes books like mine. So I could add them to my list and pitch them, right? Do your research, search on Twitter, on databases, ask around for agents who may be interested in your manuscript, query them, send query letters or book proposals. The databases that I mentioned to you, when you find a literary agent, they will tell you exactly what they want when you query them. Most of the time when you query them, they want a synopsis of your book. They probably want the first chapter or the first 5 pages. And they're going to be very specific about what they want. Do not send them anything that they do not ask for. If you don't know how to follow instructions, you're going to be out of the game before you get in. Okay? Literary agents are very anal about their submissions because their inbox is inundated with folks like you who want to get published. Do not think that a literary agent gets 3 emails a day of people that want to get published. No, their inbox is inundated, and they have an assistant that will sit and sift through all these emails, and that assistant will decide whether that editor or agent should be reading that manuscript. Okay, so if you didn't follow the instructions, trash. On to the next. Okay, super important to follow instructions, right? So the path to publishing varies depending on your goals and your interests and your patience level. Braulio didn't have any patience. He said 1 week, that's all I can do. Okay, traditional publishers will offer you a team of top editors, illustrators, and marketers to get your book into the hands of reader. There is no fast path, no shortcuts. Finding a literary agent can take anywhere from 3 months to a year, and getting a book deal can take anywhere from 1 to 2 years. And getting published can take anywhere from 1 to 2 years. Okay, So it would take a few years before your book gets published. If you are in a rush and you want this book out by your birthday in 3 months, traditional publishing is not for you. Okay? You need to be patient and be committed to the long haul because, like I said, you are not the only writer who's getting published. They have a whole list, they have a schedule. Okay? Publishing is broken down into cycles. That's why you see a lot of books come out in the spring, then you see a bunch of books come in the fall, and then you see a sprinkle of books that come out in the summer. Okay? Those authors are on a schedule. I have a schedule where I keep track of the books that the Dominican books that are coming out, and my list is already on 2027 of authors that I know or have already announced that their book is coming out in 2 years because they're on a schedule. There's no way of rushing that. Okay? Any questions about this part? No? So non-traditional publishing, which is what Angela did. She went with I think you went with hybrid, right, Angela? You paid
Yes.
to have your work published. So
Yeah.
hybrid is when it's between the author and that's press. The author pays for those services. So Angela paid for the services of getting her book edited, polished, and ready to be published. I'm assuming they helped her with her book cover. They uploaded the book up to the platform where it was going to be sold. And they said to Angela, vaya con Dios.
See,
Right?
and
They
it
do
still
not
took a year.
market, they do not market, they do not promote the book. They just publish the book. And as the author, it is your responsibility to make sure that the world knows about your book. You will need to figure out the marketing and promotion of your books. That is not their responsibility or their commitment. They are just your publisher. Go ahead, Angela.
So they have different, because I looked into different hybrids. And there are different programs that you can sign up for. So mine included sending the book and putting it on Amazon and Barnes and Nobles and all of the other big platforms. So they do that, but that is an extra fee that you pay for.
And then you have those that just
And they
put
do
it on
the
their
audio,
website.
which is an extra fee when they do the you know, digital form, which is another extra fee. So it adds up.
Right, that is correct. So that is one option. So hybrid, I'm not gonna let me retract because I don't want to get ahead of myself. So self-publishing is a process of where the author becomes responsible for the entire process of getting their book published. The author will write the manuscript, will hire an editor, will hire the illustrator, will hire the book designer, is going to research the publishing platform, is going to pay for the copyright, do the marketing and promotion of their book, package and ship their books, and schedule the readings. That sounds like a lot. It is a lot. It is a lot, okay? You are the team. Unless you got some kids running around that can help you do all this, or your partner, or you got cousins, sisters, siblings, whatever. Otherwise, you are the team, okay? So self-publishing, as opposed to traditional publishing, offers the author complete control of what happens with their book. You don't need approval of nobody to choose your book cover or the illustration of your book or decide the timeline of publishing your book. If you go traditional route, you have no say most of the time, okay? You see all these picture books out there? Sometimes the publisher will tell you, hey, here's 3 illustrators. Which one do you like best? They may not ask you if there's an illustrator out there that you love. No, here's our top 3 that we think fit this book. You choose from these 3. Okay? And they do not let you communicate with that illustrator. You're not going to be telling them, hey, could you do this? Could you do that? No. The illustrator goes to the publisher, gives them the illustration, the publisher comes to you and they discuss it with you. If you want any changes, you let the publisher know and they go back to the illustrator. It's never a conversation between you and the illustrator. The same applies for your book cover designer, okay? They may ask you, what's your idea for your book? But at the end, your publisher has a say. Okay? Even though this is your baby and you love it to death, but you no longer have creative control. You signed off on those rights. Okay? So, having complete control can become overwhelming if you are doing everything. If this is the route that you choose, you have to pace yourself, allow yourself at least 9 months to put together your manuscript, from having it edited, book cover design, translations, layout, preparing to mail and package your book and promote. I tell people, treat a book like a pregnancy. Even though, I don't know if you have kids, Braulio, but I tell folks, treat it like a pregnancy. The first trimester is you sharing, I have this idea for this book. I'm working on it. It's marinating. It's cooking. It's, it's developing. It's coming together. And I tell folks, this is your best time to be active on your social media and let your audience know that you're working on this body of work. Okay? Then while you're working on the book and it's being edited, you work through getting your book cover design, hire a graphic designer, or you could choose to go on Canva and do your book cover. It doesn't need to be anything out of this world. Okay, we've taught authors how to do their book covers on Canva. And then, the gender reveal is when you reveal your book cover design and you reveal that your book is out for pre-order, right? That's your gender reveal. And some people make a big deal out of it. Some people pop bottles and get balloons and they do a party, right? Just like a gender reveal. And then once that baby is born, that's your book launch, right? You're going to tell everybody you had a baby. Look at my baby right here. It's finally here, even though you took it out of a box. But here it is. Okay? Go, come celebrate my baby with me. Go get a piece of my baby wherever it is that you're selling this book, right? And then it doesn't stop at the book launch. You need to talk about this baby for the next year if you want it to sell. Okay, so I tell people, you see, when you go on social media and you see folks who give birth and they're telling you, oh, my baby turned 1 month today. He's 2, he's 3, he's 4. You should do the same thing with your book. Okay, except you're going to give people, how do I say this? You're going to let people know what's going on with your book during those months. So yeah, during the first month, you went through your book launch. You probably went to a couple of bookstores and you did reading. You've probably been selling books through your website or whatnot. Maybe your book is now being sold in a university or whatnot. Let folks know what is going on with your book. People want to know. People want to know what's going on with your book. And you do that every month. What is going on in month 2? What's going on in month 3? Right? And we'll talk about it, the many ways that you could get ideas on how to go about just promoting your book. And if you're not comfortable being on social media, you don't have to be on social media. You could do, I forget what these videos are called. They're faceless videos where you just see your hands and, people are filming the book and whatnot. Tons of ways for you to do it, okay? So we have vanity publishing, right? So a vanity press is a press where authors pay to have their work published either in money or more often in author's publication rights. During the publication process, no peer review is promised by the publisher, and there's no quality control. So a vanity publisher doesn't care what you wrote. They don't care if it's good or not. They're just going to publish and they're going to charge you for it. They're not reading your book. They're not reviewing your book. They don't care. For all they know, you could have just written blah, 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 blah from the beginning to the end. They don't care. That's not what they're here for. They just here to give you, to do the process of publishing, give you that book, and that's it. They charge you, they're gone. Okay? Contrary to hybrid publishing, where you are involved with the process, where they do review your body of work to see if it's a good fit for them. Okay? So you need to be aware of these vanity and hybrid presses. Okay? There is a website that lists all the scammers. Okay? Reedsy is wonderful as well. You could, if you guys are not familiar with Reedsy, go on Reedsy. Is REEDSY. Tons of resources for authors, and you could look up hybrid publisher, vanity publisher, and it will give you a list. There's also a list on Google that I could also share with you guys that also tells you all the scam publishers, right? What was I gonna say? Damn, it escaped me. I'll remember. It was something about publishing. Yeah, just be super careful. If someone approaches you that they want to publish your book, Google them. Google them and put the word scam next to it. And see if anybody is talking about them. Okay? I've known quite a few writers who have been scammed out of $5,000, $6,000, and they never got their book. I've known writers who have been charged upwards of $10,000 to publish their book. And I'm just like, you could have published 3 books with $10,000. Between 3 to 4 books you could have published with $10,000. But they didn't know any better. They didn't know anything about the publishing process, so they were vulnerable. It was very easy. You know, she was like, hey, I'm paying this. I don't really want to do the work. Let me just pay somebody. And then it's just, my God, it's $10,000. That's a lot, right? So make sure that you Google these people and you look up these things, okay? So vanity publishers will publish any work for any price. They are not invested in your book, and because they charge you up front, they can care less whether your book is going to sell or not. That's not what they don't care. Vanity presses do not vet their submissions, and they will publish nearly anything if you're willing to pay for it. They tend to have aggressive sales tactics, hidden costs, low quality of service, and practically no distribution or marketing of services. So you see how Angela said that she chose a package where her book will be available online and other places, maybe in specific bookstores. Vanity doesn't offer you that. Okay? They publish the book, it probably goes on their website, and they give you the amount of copies that you paid for, and then that's it. And then your book is not going to be on Amazon, your book is not going to be in Barnes and Nobles, your book is not going to be distributed anywhere. And you want that. Okay? So, speaking of hybrid publishing, hybrid publishers use the word contributory contract or inclusive contract or contribution-based contract, and this is when authors pay for publishing and receive higher royalties than in traditional publishing for significantly less than if they self-publish. So hybrid publisher is a publishing house that operates with a different revenue model than traditional publishing while keeping the rest of the practices of the publishing the same. The most important distinction between hybrid and other types of self-publishing is that hybrid publisher does not accept every manuscript presented to them for publication. They are discerning. They have editorial standards about what they will publish. The hybrid publisher collects anywhere from $3,000 to $5,000. This has changed. It could definitely be higher than that, depending on what you want and what they offer. And these expenses cover the costs involved with publishing the book. They provide editing and design services, and they're responsible for the distribution of your book. Some hybrid publishers may also offer marketing services. Okay, so Speaking of marketing and promotion, it is in the best interest of any author, whether you are traditional or published or you are self-published, to promote your book. Okay? You see these big authors, they promote their books. So why do you think you shouldn't promote your book? Right? So every Wednesday, starting starting next Wednesday, I'll be back on Instagram doing our IG live with authors, and the majority of our IG lives are with self-published authors. And a lot of these authors reach out to me and they want an interview on the platform, right? And I go on their Instagram account and I notice that they haven't promoted their book. But they come to us because they feel, oh, Dominican Writers has 28,000 followers. If I just go on their platform, my book is going to sell like hotcakes. It doesn't work like that. Right? And I have people sign off saying just because you show up on our IG live does not guarantee that your book is going to sell. You are responsible for your book selling. I'm just giving you the platform to tell our audience what your book is about. Okay? So I have this one person who I have to do an interview with soon. And today I went on their Instagram account. They have since June that they don't promote the book. So then I'm like, I cannot go harder promoting that book than you. That's like you leaving me your child and I'm just leaving your child to the babysitter and the babysitter's like, okay, your time is up. Like, you got to take this kid back. This is your kid. And they're like, yeah, just a little bit longer. You know, that's not my responsibility. It is your responsibility, whether you're traditionally published or self-published, to promote your book. Okay? If you self-publish, you can do so as well. And you can do so by creating a mail list of your contest. You start creating lists of libraries, lists of bookstagrammers, schools, anyone who will be interested in your book, and reach out to them. You can hire a graphic designer to create promotional material and devote ample time to promoting. Create a website or a Google form. There's tons of, I teach authors how to create a free website to promote their book. I will show you some of those. Okay. I also had an author who had an active blog when she published her book, and she said she didn't want to add a store to her blog. So I taught her how to create a Google form where she could take payments for her book. So people ordered her book from a Google form. So if you didn't know, Google forms take payments. Okay, they have extensions, which was wonderful for me when I figured that out. And then I just taught her how to create a pre-order form via a Google form and have people order the books through there. So she didn't have to create a website, and that's free, right? So there's tons of Fiverr is free if you want a graphic designer, or if maybe you want to barter services with a graphic designer. B here says that she's a graphic designer, so now you have that connection if you want a book cover, right? And there's tons. I've had authors who have self-published that the book cover designers fall in love with their books and don't charge them. Okay. And I've also had book designers that would charge you for, I've had book designers charge me anywhere from $400 to $1,000 for a book cover. The $1,000 I very happily paid for it because it was a renowned Dominican artist and I needed his artwork on my book, on that book cover. For my book, when I self-published, I believe I paid like $800 because it was a custom. It was actually me, my face, on the book cover. So it could be anywhere from free to $1,500. It all depends on what you want. But going back to marketing and promotion, you have creative control. You could do the craziest thing, whatever you want, to market and promote your book. You don't even have to go the boring route of just libraries, right? Because that's the only place a traditional publisher is going to send you. the libraries, bookstores, the formal literary spaces. But when you have creative control, you could be anywhere selling your book. Like, this is my mixtape here. Buy my book. So where do you begin with your book, right? First of all, finish the manuscript. And this also applies to if you're looking for a literary agent, because most of the time you don't want a literary agent to fall in love with the first 10 pages of your book and then say, hey, Braulio, mándame el reto. And you're like, oh, it's not ready yet. You're losing out. That literary agent could say, I need to move on to the next person. And by the time you finish your manuscript and hit them back up, they're like, no, I'm no longer interested. You don't want to do that. Okay. But if you are self-publishing, finish the manuscript, make the decision whether you're traditional publishing or non-traditional, which means hybrid or self-publishing. Hybrid is when you pay somebody to do that work for you. Self-publishing is when you're doing the work yourself, right? Do your research, search for the literary agents or search for the people who are going to help you out. Do you need an editor? Where do you find editors? We have a list of editors. We have a list of translators. We have a list. If you need beta readers, you can reach out to us. All of that. And if I don't have a list, I know somebody. And I'll tell you here, reach out to this person, all right? Create an action plan, whether you're querying an agent or gathering the resources required. And get to it, right? Don't start slacking. You're almost there. Trust me, this is all possible. All right. It's very possible for you to make your book dream come true. There's no reason for this to be overwhelming. If you take 9 months to a year to publish your book, it's not going to be overwhelming. It is overwhelming when you decide to rush through it. And trust me, I have seen people try to rush through books and then it becomes a hot mess. And then they need to take time to fix it. And you don't want that because, it's more money now that you have to invest to fix this book. Okay. So this is the end of today's session, right on time, right? So does anyone want to answer any of these questions now that we're done?
I have a quick question.
Go ahead, Veronica.
Where does those smaller, I don't know if they're called prints or presses, like where does that fall in hybrid versus traditional? Like for example, Roberto Carlos Garcia, like he published with Northwestern some sort of university, I don't know. What a category is that?
So that would be, I guess I would say more traditional publishing because they take over the entire process of publishing your book. You don't have to pay a small press to publish your book. You just have to pitch them your manuscript, and if they're interested, they're going to tell you that they're interested and they're going to go through the process of publishing your book. But that is usually the recommended route for you to start with a small press and then build yourself up to submitting to a larger traditional publisher. Anyone else have a question?
I have one more then. And then the copyrights, do you give those away for traditional always and then, right? Or no? Yeah, okay.
You sign your rights and I think it lasts like 75 years or something like that. When I bring in the copyright person, they'll tell you. But once you sign off those rights, it's like 75 years or something like that it lasts. So your grandkids. Who wants to volunteer to answer question number 1? Or any of these questions? I basically want to know how you guys feel with today's session.
Well, you did a great job, Angy, and you really did in explaining everything, both traditional and self-publishing. I think that you demystify self-publishing. You made it seem possible in a positive way, but also you inspired the traditional, even if that's not your intention. I don't know, like you did, you inspired the traditional as well. At least, you know.
That wasn't my intention.
I know, I know, but it felt
I believe in
inspiring.
creative control.
Yeah. It felt inspiring.
What about you, Angela?
I agree with Anesi. You presented both so well that, you know, I'm still shying away from self-publishing. I want to be the writer. I don't want to be the marketing person. I even have former students who do all of my social media, so I don't
That's
even want to
fair.
deal with
Hey,
that.
I'm one of those people. If I could pay somebody,
Yeah, I do.
go ahead.
But what
How
I
much? Here.
really loved from this whole thing was that you need to treat your book process as a pregnancy. And I wish somebody had told me that 6 years ago.
Oh, you like that?
Because yes, because that it's really what it is. And I often use it with my doctoral students, that their dissertation is their baby, and so the process is their pregnancy, but it never occurred to me to apply it to my own book.
There you go.
So thank you.
Braulio is like, you won't be the pregnant person, but you'll be the supportive
I know.
partner.
So, I have more questions, I guess.
Go
And maybe
ahead.
you can help me. So, I don't know if I should go to beta readers or take the step on Readsy. When you mentioned that, that's the site that I've used before to look for someone that would want to edit on the, I guess, more on the level of story structure. I forget which level that is. So, you made me think about it. Am I trying to rush myself now because, I want to see the next, because I told myself I got to see this through because I didn't want to get stuck in a cycle of, editing. And so I was like, let me see this through. So I don't know, but I don't know where I'm at. So I guess my question was, where should I go for my next step? Should I have a more beta readers read it first before I get it edited?
Okay, so for those of you who don't know, a beta reader is an unpaid volunteer who reads your manuscript before it's published to provide feedback from a perspective of a typical reader. So if that's what you want, if you want feedback from your audience,
Yeah.
the people who will potentially purchase and read this book, then yes, I recommend beta readers.
Okay.
Okay.
And
So
after
you
that,
need
what
to
do you
be
do after that?
you need to be very specific about the feedback you want from them, right? So if
Okay.
you have, so what I usually tell people is figure out who your audience is, get beta readers from that audience, and create a Google form where you ask them very specific questions about the manuscript.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Okay.
Also, you do not need to heed to all the advice these beta readers give you. It's just things for you to think about,
Feedback. Yeah, I got you.
right? Things for you to consider, but you don't need to take everything that they tell you to heart. Because you know what happens? People will sit there and try to make every reader happy.
No, I
There's
got
no
you.
way you're going to do that whatsoever. There's going to be people that will hate on your baby, that would say your baby is ugly, but you still love your baby because it's yours.
Yeah.
Okay?
No, okay.
Go ahead,
So,
Angela.
And not all your potential beta readers actually read your stuff, especially your friends and family. They
Right.
won't read your
And
stuff,
they
and
should
then
not
you
be your
feel
beta readers.
offended or personal, like, really?
Do not ask your mom or your siblings, your partner to be your beta reader. No, ask strangers. Okay, to be so that's if you're looking to answer some questions about your manuscript. If you have questions or concerns about whether this manuscript is going to reach people and reach and touch people the way you want it to impact them, then you should go the route of beta readers. And once you go through that route and you say, okay, I think I may want to add more to my story and edit it, then you work with an editor to do that. I personally recommend, if you're Latino, get yourself a Latino editor. because they're going to understand your manuscript. And you don't need to sit there and explain what you're trying to say,
Mhm.
you know, or any nuances, especially when you're talking about Dominican fuckboys. That's very unique to us.
Oh, Jesus. Yeah.
Pero,
I don't
pero,
want nobody,
Angie.
I don't want nobody to talk shit about our Dominican fuckboys but us.
Angie, yo le quiero preguntar algo a Braulio. Braulio,
Yeah.
is it completely finished, your book?
Yes. So if
Oh,
you want to be a
wow.
beta reader, I can send it to you.
Why, you want to
Yeah,
read it?
no, Braulio, I would love to read it.
Okay.
Mhm.
All right. I'll be more than happy,
Yeah,
especially
me
with
too.
And
I'll send it to
Angela is,
everybody. I'm like,
Angela is a writing coach.
Yeah.
okay, awesome. Yeah, please.
So
Yeah,
you
so
got
it's
professionals over here. And then if you need a book cover, you got B. ¿Qué tú haces, Carmen? ¿Qué tú puedes aportar?
Jesus.
Oh my God, Carmen, yeah.
Alright.
B is a graphic designer.
All right.
I supervise the domestic violence program, so I don't think you guys want my help.
So if you got any domestic violence with your fuckboy, Carmen can be a sensitivity.
Oh boy.
Exacto, yeah, there you go.
yeah,
Carmen,
yeah.
Carmen tiene un buen ojo.
Me too, Veronica.
I'm
What
just
you
worried,
gonna
like
book
after you
Braulio
read
with?
it, I'm worried after you read it, you're gonna be like, you know what, Riley, don't come back to this class.
No.
I'm
But
teasing, I'm teasing.
so yeah,
Yeah.
so then like I was saying, if you want if you want an editor, I suggest go with a Latino editor. If your story is like very Dominican, go with a Dominican editor.
Yeah. I feel it's Dominican American, but so that's where I'm like,
Meaning, don't get a white person to read your
no, of
story.
course not. I don't want a white person. This is definitely is the
Get
last
a
thing.
person of color who's going to
Yeah.
understand your fuckboy plight.
Yeah, and Braulio, I
Your
like
challenges.
the advice that Angie gave you in terms of, I was gonna ask you how open are you to receive, feedback, but
I'm very
also to stay open to knowing in your heart what you feel is right for you, even if somebody gives you feedback.
Yeah.
Of course.
I'm like that. I love feedback, but I also know that the people that might be my beta testers, I trust them, but their language and the way they write sentences might be different than mine, and they might want to change things to look like more like what they feel. And I'll hear it and stuff like that, but their language is different. I might want more emotional context. How is this feeling for you? Like you might want to let us know what you want for yourself
Yeah.
in
Be very
terms of the
specific with
feedback
your
that you want.
question. Yeah.
Mhm.
So I'll work on a Google form and then I'll send it to you.
Yeah. Send it to us.
Share
Yeah.
it with Angie so you can share it with the group.
B, how do you
Um,
feel with today's session?
I feel amazing.
Did I give
Like
you more information than your friend?
absolutely already. And the pregnancy breakdown, I don't know why that hit so hard, but that was genius because when I published my book, I was just like, all right, it's out. And I was
You do any
nowhere.
readings? Do you go
You
anywhere
need me,
with
babe?
your book?
You need
No.
me? No. Okay.
Look at that.
But one thing that I will do this week, question number 5, is looking into starting a manuscript. I don't even know what that is.
So the manuscript is your written body of work.
Okay, so it's the book.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yes.
So when you get a beta reader, do you send them the entire book?
Yes.
Okay,
If
lovely.
it's done, yes. Make sure that it's done. And like I said to Braulio, be very specific about the type of feedback that you want. So that so that you get the information that you need to improve your manuscript.
Okay, beautiful.
Okay.
And just want to
Yeah.
say out loud,
What is your book about? The one you're writing now?
my book is my book is it is a fiction book loosely based on my life.
Okay. Is it young adult or adult?
Uh, mm, I would say young adult.
Okay. Is there any book out there that you could compare it to? That you'd be like, if you read this, you're gonna like this.
Not really. However, because I haven't read them, but my friends that I keep telling them about this book, keep telling me that it is very Octavia Butler coded.
Oh, okay. And you haven't read Octavia Butler? So I
No.
recommend that you do and find out why your book is being compared to Octavia Butler, who is a legend. Yeah, read one of her books. You'll probably be pleasantly surprised. Nice. Okay. Yeah, so definitely be.
So B, are you looking for a better reader?
Anesi, tú no tienes trabajo.
No, I'm just wondering. No, I'm not gonna take
You
B.
signing
Claro que
up for the
sí.
book too?
Yo tengo una balsa de trabajo, claro. But I'm wondering because I love what B is saying in terms of her own fiction, hybrid nonfiction, memoir story. It sounds like it's speculative.
Yeah, speculative fiction, yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I think maybe in a month or a few months I will be looking for
Okay.
bigger.
So when I finish with Braulio, I'll be there for you, B.
Okay. And I also
And
wanted to
Braulio,
say
yeah,
out loud
I'll
that
so if you're
yes,
taking time, yeah.
While Anesi, while you at it, Angela is finishing her father's memoir.
I sent you a message.
okay,
She's
thank
I
giving
don't
me
you,
have
more
a
Angela, thank you.
dissertation coming up until January, so I'm free to read.
So there you
Thank you so
go.
much.
Anesi's signing up to read 3 of your books.
No, I just want Braulio to know that I'm a trauma therapist, Braulio, so I see things from a trauma perspective.
Mhm.
Kind of like what Carmen is seeing it from a domestic, like she said, oh, well, I'm in domestic violence. Like we all see the books from our perspective. So I see it like, wow, I
I'm
see
glad
it
you.
from this trauma lens. So I just want you to know if I get too trauma informed on your
No,
book.
I think I think that's a lot of it is in that too, to be honest.
Okay, good.
Like being upfront,
Nice.
Yeah.
you're gonna get that, you're gonna get domestic violence, you're gonna get misogyny, you're gonna get
Okay.
colorism in it too. So
Yeah, I reviewed someone's, remember Angie, you referred, I reviewed, what is his name? I forgot his name. It was such a beautiful little collection of poems. It was very trauma informed reading for me.
Oh, who was that?
I'll remember.
All right.
Yeah.
Who else wants to share how they felt about the session?
I can say I really enjoyed it. It was good to just get an idea of it felt over it like self-publishing, even though I feel that's my route because I want creative control. It still feels overwhelming because there's so much in it, especially I feel like I'm more of an introvert, so I don't like to go out and be like, hey, my book, my book, my book. And then you have to be promoting and be very and stand on your stuff. And I'll stand on it, but I'm not the type to, like I'm just not that's not my style. So it's like that's the only thing I find, that's gonna be the challenge for me is being like, oh, hey, read my book or having a conversation, with the intent of
You could do
getting
that in
someone to be
subtle, you
interested.
could do that in subtle ways. You don't need to
Mhm.
be, you know, actively present on video because that's not everybody. So there's for people who are not technologically savvy or social media savvy, there's still ways for you to go about and promote your book and get it out there.
Mhm.
Angie, have you ever done anything on marketing and promotion? Because you do everything.
And you anything like what?
Yeah, like just to outline the marketing and promotion process that could help Braulio or anybody looking
Oh,
that
definitely.
may be an ex.
It's in our self-publishing
Yeah,
book.
right? Okay, got it.
Yes.
Yeah, because there's like an
And
outline and a structure
yeah,
that you
and
could
I
follow,
will walk
Braulio.
you guys through that because even though we have a self-publishing book, is a little I think I need to update it. I think I did it during the pandemic and so many things have changed.
Mhm.
So yeah, but now
Okay.
that we have AI, I teach writers how to use AI to help you create that.
Okay.
So that's one of the workshops that we're going to be doing here, where AI could be your friend. You don't use it to write your book, but you use it to be your marketing and promotion assistant, right? To help you write that pitch to a school or a library or a bookstore or whatnot, to help you find your audience, and so many other things.
Mhm.
Okay. Veronica, how did you feel with this session? Did I
Oh,
do a good job?
Oh, you're my fairy godmother. You're the writing fairy godmother. Of course you did. No, this was a good way to set the stage, like in a direct, like no bullshit. Y'all are gonna have to do work, but here are the options way. One thing one thing I'm thinking about is I really want to make a decision within the next couple weeks on this manuscript I started writing years ago, that I can't decide if I want to keep it fiction or turn it more memoir. It's about a Dominican family who has kids who are raised in the rich suburbs of the US and aren't prepared for what comes with that. So they're dealing with the opioid crisis, which hit the suburbs of this country like dramatically, which was like covered in the news, but never really like dealt with. Like we haven't heard about it since, right? And then we're also dealing with like the financial crisis and um, how that, the housing crisis, how that impacts the family. And so I started writing it, like a lot of us, as a fiction novel in 2020. And I became a little bit more honest with myself of like, that's just not my natural genre, but I've been reading a ton of fiction. And I do think it could be like a dope narrative. It gives me a lot of like narrative options because I can make it more like omniscient narrator and like give some more voice, like the mother, for example. Like there's just a lot more I can do that excites me, but it's not my natural skill set. And so I want to decide like what to do. And I also really want to honor all the characters in the story who are my family. So that's what I've been thinking about. And I think that's why I haven't touched that manuscript in, I mean, I've like dabbled in it, I've looked at it over the last couple of years, but not really. And I have like 100 pages.
Okay. All right. Well, good luck with that. I'm making
What? I thought you were gonna answer. Help me answer.
I'm not gonna tell you what to do. Absolutely not.
All
All the best to you.
wow. I thought you were gonna say like rub, like tap your
Veronica.
toes
Go ahead,
3
Angela.
times.
Veronica, you can do with that work you have whatever you want. I mean, it's a phenomenal story
I don't know what
from
I
what
want.
I've read.
I thought Angie was gonna tell me.
Yeah, well, you know, while you were speaking, I was opening our last Substack article where I'm inviting you guys to submit your story to various literary journals, right? Because when I read I just recently finished reading Clavis Natera, The Gran Paloma Resort, and in her acknowledgments, Clavis said that there were various parts of her novel that she submitted to literary journals. And that was her way of testing whether people were going to like it or not. Right? So those are things that I would recommend you start doing, but we've had conversations like you've already told me that you are working and submitting to literary journals, but if you're not submitting pieces of the story, it might be something for you to consider. Right? The same for Braulio. You could identify literary journals that may be looking for, parts of your novel, right? That you could see, are people going to like this? If you're not on Substack, if you're not testing out your writing with an audience, I do recommend that you do that. You could share excerpts. Braulio, is if there's a chapter or an excerpt that you want us to share just to see how people will feel about the story, I'm open to that as well. I was supposed to publish JP's, but he hasn't sent it to me. I'm gonna
Well,
strangle.
that's it. It was JP. I did the literary
JP,
review
yes.
for his
So
book.
JP, right? So
JP.
JP has been with us since 2018, and I was telling him the other day that it's been such a pleasure to see him now have a literary agent, and he's about to publish a novel, right? So, his first book was this one, On the Tip of My Mother's Tongue, right?
That's the one that I reviewed.
But the first one that he did was much smaller. This is thicker because it's broken between English and Spanish translation, and it was a black cover. But this year he reprinted the story bilingual, where
That's great.
the first time he published it, it was only in English. Now this version you have En la punta de la lengua de mi madre, which is this side, and then you flip it over and it's in English.
Yeah.
This is a very raw, very personal, very gritty story about Washington Heights, addiction, His stepfather dies from an overdose. His tumultuous relationship with his mother, who's an addict as well, which I highly, highly, highly recommend you read, because sometimes we get so stuck in our heads and we like, oh, my book should read like this, and the language should be this formal, and maybe I shouldn't curse, or maybe I shouldn't talk about the real stuff that is going on in our family, right? This past Sunday we had our book club and we discussed this book, My Trainees at 3, by Natalie Guerrero, also based in Washington Heights. It's a coincidence that every book I've read now recently. But in this book, this girl is a hot mess. She's in her 20s. She's in her decision making, and the things that happen to her and the things that she does has me like, I want to strangle this girl, right? But at the same time, you felt connected to her because you were like, damn, in my 20s, I did do some, shady stuff or things that I probably shouldn't have been doing or whatnot, right? So she humanizes character, and now you can relate to her even more, right? And just the things that she talks about, she talks a lot about grief and getting over the death of a sibling, right? And there are topics like these where you don't see very often in our books. And then if you do see them, then people be like, oh, that's trauma porn. Like if you haven't read Geographies of Home, right? That book is like crazy to me when it comes to trauma. I left that book midway because I was like, I need to disconnect for a minute from all this stuff, and then I'll go back to read it. But it's an excellent novel by a Dominican author. So yeah,
So what's the book called again?
¿Cuál de ellos? Porque mencioné 3 libros.
Oh,
You said porn, that's what I heard. What was the book called?
Oh, Geographies of Home.
Geographies of Homes.
Yeah.
Nice.
So that book was published years ago, and I ended up meeting the author in DR, which is crazy to me. I
Wow, that's
went
cool.
to a book event and I met this woman. I'm like, I've been looking for you. Where have you been? Because I pride myself in knowing most of our Dominican authors. Haven't
Yeah.
met them in person, thankfully. I've had that honor. Except for Anesi, I think you and I met in person, right?
yeah.
I think I've met all of you actually.
Yeah. I met you when I think Angie had an event and I went over to New York City because I'm in upstate New York.
Right. So, but yeah. So
I gotta go, but I just wanted to say you're doing
look at
God's
you.
work. Look at me. I'm obsessed. And don't forget to buy Angela's book. I just ordered it.
I will
Amazon.
too.
Did you
It's
order
not-
Anesi's book?
Oh, and
No, I didn't know.
Veronica, if you want to talk at any time about the things you were sharing, just give me a call. I want to stay connected because I won't be here in person for the next few weeks.
You put it in the
So,
chat. Everyone should put
Oh,
their
yeah.
email in the chat.
Yep.
Nancy, you have
Uh-huh.
one more copy on Amazon. I just ordered it, and there's one more left.
Oh,
Just letting
yeah.
you know.
Thank you, Angela. Yeah, Northwestern. Let me tell. Well, anyway, thank you, Angela. I'll get your book as well. I'm going to put my email. Of course, you could reach out to me. I would like to stay connected because I won't be around, but I will be at the last session, I believe.
Beautiful. Anyone else wants to share what they've learned from today's session? Did everyone go? I'm also sharing our last Substack article. Follow us on Substack. I give a lot of advice to writers. I also call you out on your shit. So if you're up for it. Let me see which is the best way, Braulio.
Okay.
For your manuscript. But it's done, right? You just want it shared with everybody?
Yeah. I mean, I can just send it to these emails if you want, if that's easier.
Yeah, but send it to me when you have the feedback form.
Okay, I have
Okay, all right.
Veronica.
Gotcha.
I have Angie. Should I email you? No. Okay. And Angie, Angela Arias. Okay, good.
Carmen, what do you think about the session?
Carmen.
You're muted.
It was great. It was amazing. I think that definitely like everyone else, I think the analogy of a child It's like do it, but do it scared. Like what in my case, it was like, yeah, you want to have a child, but like, how much do you know? There's not like a manual about all of that. So it's like you get prepared, you think about it. Well, sometimes you think about it, right? Sometimes it just happen, right? But like, but like thinking, like preparing for like, okay, I'm gonna have a kid, all the steps that it takes. So I think I'm gonna use it to kind of like not stress myself out because I felt that like, oh my God, I mean, why to like write something? I wanted to create an impact within my community. And I like really put a lot of pressure on myself. And now after hearing you and everyone else, it's like, okay, it takes time. It doesn't have to be in such a rush. Right. So I think I'm living with that. And yeah, but I did learn a lot. And yeah, I'm happy to be in the space with like so much knowledge. Yeah.
Okay, I think everyone has shared. So next week, I think we're talking about boss moves, owning your publishing journey. And then workshop is talking about exploring I think we did that today, but we're gonna be talking more about crafting a roadmap based on your time, budget, and your end goals. Okay, that's next week, folks.
Mhm.
I'm unavailable next week.
Okay.
But can you
I will
record
send
it?
everyone the recording, Braulio.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, even you're not here. Anesi's not gonna be here next week either, but that's fine.
I
Okay,
will be here on the last session. I believe is a Jewish holiday, so the school's yeah, I think it's a Jewish holiday. I'll be here.
okay. All right, folks. See you next week. Have
Thank
a
you
good
so
night.
much.
Bye bye. Take care.